The restaurant was glowing under soft golden lights, the kind that make everything look warmer than it truly is. Crystal glasses clinked gently, and polite laughter floated across the long oak table. It was our 5th anniversary dinner. My wife, Elena, sat beside me in a red dress that turned heads the moment she walked in. Her friends and a few of my colleagues filled the seats around us. Everything felt perfect, until the wine had been poured a little too freely and the jokes started getting sharper. I noticed the shift in her smile before anyone else did. At first, the teasing was harmless. Elena joked about how I always forgot to water the plants, how I triple-checked the car locks, how I preferred spreadsheets over spontaneous trips. Everyone laughed. I smiled too. A husband is expected to take a few playful hits. But then she leaned back, swirling her wine glass with a smirk that didn't belong in a loving marriage. "You know," she said loudly, glancing around the table, "my ex Daniel was bigger. In every way." The words hung in the air like smoke no one wanted to inhale. The table responded with forced laughter, tight smiles, raised eyebrows, quick sips of wine. Someone coughed. My colleague Mark suddenly found intense interest in his steak. Elena laughed louder, as if doubling down would make it funnier. "Relax," she added, touching my arm as if I were a prop in her performance. "We're all adults here." I felt every pair of eyes flick toward me, measuring my reaction. Would I explode? Would I sulk? Would I prove her point? Instead, I simply picked up my glass. I took a slow sip of my drink, letting the cool bitterness settle on my tongue. My heartbeat was steady. That surprised even me. I looked at Elena, not angrily, not hurt, but calmly. She mistook my silence for weakness. "Oh, come on," she nudged, smiling wickedly. "Don't be so sensitive." Sensitive. That word almost made me laugh. Because sensitivity wasn't what was about to end her laughter. I placed my glass down gently on the table, the soft click echoing louder than her joke. "You're right," I said quietly. The room leaned in. Daniel was bigger. A few awkward chuckles escaped, thinking I was playing along. I continued, voice even. Bigger in debt. Bigger in lies. Bigger in the criminal investigation that forced him to leave the state. The laughter froze mid-air. Elena's smile flickered. She blinked. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her tone shifting slightly. I held her gaze. "The investigation I helped close. The one you never knew I was assigned to." Silence spread like ink in water. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Elena's face lost its color. Daniel wasn't just her ex. He was a businessman who had abruptly relocated years ago. She had told everyone it was a career move. I had met her shortly after. What she didn't know was that I worked in financial crime analysis back then. Daniel's company had been under investigation for fraud, laundering millions through shell accounts. I had seen every file. Every hidden transaction. Every desperate attempt to escape exposure. "I never mentioned it," I said calmly, "because I believe the past should stay buried." Elena's fingers tightened around her napkin. "But since we're comparing sizes tonight..." Yes, he was bigger. Bigger in betrayal. Bigger in cowardice. Someone at the table shifted uncomfortably. Mark's wife looked down at her plate. Elena forced a laugh that sounded brittle. "You're making this dramatic," she whispered sharply. I tilted my head. "Am I? Or did you just forget who you married?" Her breathing became shallow. I wasn't finished. "I also know," I added softly, "that he contacted you 3 months ago." That landed harder than anything else. The room didn't just go quiet. It turned cold. Elena's eyes widened. "That's not," she started, but her voice failed. "You changed your password last week," I continued, "but not before the notifications synced to the tablet at home. I didn't need to spy. You were careless." The humiliation she had tried to give me was now circling back to her. A bead of sweat formed at her temple. "It was nothing," she said, barely audible. "Closure." I nodded slowly. "Closure doesn't involve hotel reservations." A sharp inhale echoed from someone across the table. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't shaking. That made it worse. Elena's earlier confidence had evaporated. The same friends who laughed moments ago now stared at her with something closer to judgment. She had tried to shrink me in public. Instead, She had exposed herself. "I didn't confront you," I said, "because I wanted to be sure." My voice remained level, controlled. "I wanted to see if you'd stop. If you'd remember what we built." I gestured gently around the table. "But tonight, you chose to humiliate me for entertainment." My gaze softened, not with love, but with finality. "So here's my calm reply." I reached into my jacket and placed a small envelope beside her plate. She stared at it as if it might explode. "They're copies," I explained. "Messages. Bookings. Dates." Her hands trembled, but she didn't open it. She didn't need to. She knew. "I filed for divorce this morning." The words fell gently, but they shattered everything. A glass clinked somewhere as someone set it down too fast. Elena's lips parted, but no sound came out. She had expected embarrassment, maybe anger. Not preparation. Not precision. Not quiet execution. The power dynamic at the table had completely reversed. "You planned this," she whispered. There it was, the realization that I had known. That I had waited. I shook my head. No. I hoped I'd never have to use it. I stood slowly, adjusting my cufflinks. "But thank you," I added, glancing around the table, "for making tonight so clear." No sarcasm. Just truth. Her earlier laughter felt like a distant memory now. The room was heavy with the weight of consequences. Faces pale. Eyes wide. Elena reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said quietly. Not harsh. Just firm. "You wanted bigger?" "Bigger comes with impact." A tear slipped down her cheek, smudging the careful makeup she'd applied for the evening. "We can fix this," she pleaded softly. I studied her face, the same face I once trusted without question. "Some things don't get fixed," I replied. "They get revealed." And tonight, everything had been revealed. I placed cash on the table to cover my share. No drama. No slammed doors. Just controlled departure. As I walked toward the exit, I could feel the stares following me. Not pity. Respect. Elena remained frozen in her chair, the envelope untouched, her earlier arrogance replaced with disbelief. The silence she had created for me now belonged entirely to her. The kind of silence that echoes long after the room empties. Outside, the cool night air felt clean against my skin. I didn't feel victorious. I felt free. Betrayal doesn't always require shouting to be avenged. Sometimes it requires patience, precision, timing. She had tried to measure me by comparison. But true size isn't about volume or ego. It's about integrity. And within seconds of my calm reply, her laughter had died, faces had turned pale, and an entire room had witnessed the difference between a man who reacts and a man who knows.